Good evening. Good evening and happy Mother's Day. Happy Sunday night. Welcome back to another episode of yet another average podcast. I am your host, Jeremy, and pretty excited to be here. I know it is Mother's Day, so I appreciate anybody that's able to attend and hang out with us tonight. Unfortunately, due to a dance competition and other things going on, my partner in crime, my co-host of the Mostest, is not with us, so Mitchie will not be joining us tonight. And so I thought we would leave this up to just a fun chat about kind of whatever you guys want to talk about. But also, I do have some topics in mind specific to UFOs and aliens, and I want to get into that and talk about all of those things. But we'll get that started here, give everybody a little bit of time to get in. In the meantime, I definitely want to go through the disclaimer so that we can do that real quick. So let's talk about the disclaimer and what we got here. So the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization or entity. Listeners are encouraged to critically evaluate the information presented and form their own opinion. So guys, that is the disclaimer. You guys know the drill. We are talking about all kinds of things. We've talked about a number of different stories from UFOs and aliens, Area 51, Bigfoot, cursed movie sets. We've talked about the Knights Templar. We've gone down a lot of different rabbit holes, and that's what we look to continue to do tonight. Just looking to see if we get any comments in here. Let me find my comment section. And see. Not showing. I don't know, but we'll find it. All right. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Sunday evening, and enjoying their things that they've got going on. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about UFOs and aliens and all the news and all the craziness that's out there, why people believe, why people don't believe, and everything in between. So I'm excited to get into it, so let's just do that. We'll get into it and get going here. So guys, you know, UFOs have been reported around for centuries. There are pictures of UFOs all the way back in hieroglyphics of old times. We've got Native Americans that have talked about aircraft or flying discs, that kind of thing, all the way up to today, where we finally, after all of these years, have some level of acceptance with the government, the United States government, finally coming out and admitting to there being a unidentified aerial phenomena group out there, and that they have identified some of these things as real, that they exist, they're out there. There is no claim that they are of alien origin or of extraterrestrial origin, but they are just simply saying that there are things out there that we cannot identify that breaches the realm of our technology and any technology that we know to exist. So these things fly at faster speeds. They defy the laws of physics as we know it. And there's a lot of people who have witnessed these UFOs over time. And we're going to get into a little bit about that because we have alien stories. We have everything from abductions to just UFO sightings and to crashes and recoveries of bodies and all kinds of things, and all the different people who have testified and talked about that. We recently had a congressional testimony from a number of people, or from 3 eyewitnesses, that talked about UFO aircraft or UAPs and the possibility that these, what do they call them? Not only crafts having been recovered, but also potential life, or some sort of, they've had non-human recoveries, non-human species recoveries of bodies, alien bodies. So that's what I know there. We're going to talk about, we've talked about Bob Lazar and the things that he saw. He was the one that worked at S4, which is a part of Area 51, and he was working to reverse engineer alien spacecraft and try to figure out the propulsion system. And then we're going to talk about George Knapp, who ultimately broke the story. He is a Las Vegas journalist, investigative journalist, who broke the story that Bob had to tell. And there were a number of other things that he's reported on throughout the years. Also, David Fravor was a combat pilot and instructor, as well as Ryan Graves. Both of them have witness testimony of seeing and identifying these aircraft. And then we also have David Grush, who was one of the guys. He was a former intel officer for the military, and he is one that came out with a lot of the intel information. He was a was a whistleblower for the UAP and aerial phenomena stuff that was coming out. David Fravor was notorious, or not notorious, he's famous for the Tic Tac video. If you haven't seen that, that is where there was this Tic Tac shaped vehicle that went from roughly anywhere from 50, 60, 70, 80,000 feet down to 50 feet above water, and it did it in a matter of under a second. And then it went off at high rates of speed. Talks about this, the white caps that you could see underneath the water, or that you could see on the surface of the water on a clear, calm day, which would indicate that there was something under the surface level of the water. He did not claim to see anything there. He just claimed that that existed at one point in time and then later did not, which indicates that possibly this thing came out of the ocean and ultimately rose, fell, sped away the whole thing without any known means of propulsion, without any heat signatures, without anything else. They did capture it on their radar as well as their high-tech scanning equipment on the aircraft, and they were able to measure its speed and size and all those things. Ryan Graves, also part of the more, I don't know if it was more known or not, but the one that I saw was the, it was captured on radar, or it was captured on the infrared, and it kind of rotated in shape as it moved, defying the laws of physics and its ability to both move at that speed and rotate at that speed and defy the wind. It kind of went anti-gravity type thing against the wind. They've also claimed that they have seen these things where they are just flat out stationary in the sky, no matter the wind, no matter anything else, that they are just completely still, hovering in the sky in one spot. And so that leads some craziness there. Kenneth Bird, welcome in. So they've seen these things, right? And the government has ultimately accepted the fact that these are real, unidentified aerial phenomena. I think that the government took the position of calling it a UAP because, like so many things, the UFO industry or the UFO terminology became a little bit associated with crazy people who have just claimed all these bizarre stories that are untestable, unmeasurable. We don't know if they happened, if they didn't happen, but there's a lot of people that talk about abduction stories and all kinds of things that just don't make a lot of sense. But, again, their story is their story, and who's to tell what the truth is? So we go kind of off of the idea that there are scientific measurable aspects of some of these unidentified aerial phenomena, and then there are a ton of just claims of sightings, abductions, all the things. So if we go back to the 1940s, we have Roswell, New Mexico, where the craft crashed. It was claimed that the United States government recovered a flying disc and transported it to a military base, and then within 24 hours they decided no, it wasn't a flying disc, and now it's just a weather balloon, and they went down, and they've changed that story a number of times through declassification and various other things. So now they're saying that it was still claiming it to be some sort of weather balloon or military balloon that they were using for whatever purposes, but ultimately we have the change in the story, and that's some of the early sightings and recoveries of crash sites, but it potentially goes back even further than that. A lot of people testify that it went back longer than that. In fact, Bob Lazar, one of the claims that he had was that the aircraft that he was working on that was of extraterrestrial origin was actually an archaeological find, which would have dated back many, many thousands of years. And so, there's claims that these things have been visiting us for a long time and that we have recovered both crafts and other things. Sorry, excuse me. So there's a lot of reports and sightings of that. Now, there have been more recent ones like the Las Vegas report where we saw the green fireball in the sky that was later claimed to be a meteor, and then a report of these 8 to 10 foot creatures in the backyard of this home in Las Vegas that kind of spooked everybody. And there's been, a lot of claims as to this being real. There's some video evidence that has been proven not to have been altered that shows some shadowy things that you wouldn't expect to see, and some unexplained things. So so we've got all of that. So the interesting thing about that is, we talk about little green men or the Greys or anything like that. We're usually referencing what is most often cited and recounted are 3 to 5 foot creatures. They're usually smaller in stature, and they have the big head and the big eyes, but you don't see a lot of reports of these alien beings or these creatures being 8 and 10 foot tall. So that was a little bit unique out of that one. There's been some other recent sightings that have been discounted, like the Miami Mall incident where there were a bunch of kids fighting and a huge cop police presence, and some reports that came out of that for a while, but was quickly dismissed. Again, what do you choose to believe? What do you choose not to? And can we find any hard evidence for any of it at all, to be frank? I think that there's a lot to be said about the truthfulness of a lot of these people. I mean, Bob Lazar, he was discounted as crazy. He was, he had a lot of his previous job history and the things that he was working on were discounted, were erased basically from record. A lot of people saying that he didn't work at the various places that he did, and it later came out piece by piece that through proof of his name in the phone records and the logs and so forth, that he did work there and that he was a part of this investigation thing. So, over time, not to mention over the 40, 50 years, whatever it's been, longer than that maybe, he has not changed his story at all. And so we're still recounting the same exact situation, the same exact story over and over again, without any deviation. So that leads a little bit of credibility to the idea that this actually happened and that he's being honest and genuine on what he at least believes that he saw or did or worked on. David Fravor certainly had David Fravor, David Grush, and Ryan Graves certainly didn't have any reason to come out and be considered, crazy or anything else. They simply wanted to disclose the information that they saw. It was unique. It was interesting. Again, I don't think anybody has claimed to this point that these are extraterrestrial objects. David Fravor and Ryan Graves both captured video evidence of these objects, but what these objects are, we don't really know. Could this be something that the government or the military is working on that is an advancement in technology that just hasn't simply been released yet? It's quite possible. When we think about like the U-2 spy plane and the stealth bomber and some of these other aircraft, they had been in development for years before we ever even knew about them. So the first sighting of them had to have been quite terrifying or different, and lead you to believe that maybe it was something from another world. And ultimately, it was just an aircraft that we had been working on for years and years, and there wasn't a use for it until there came time to be a use for it. And we don't want to uncover our secrets. The military doesn't want to uncover their secrets until there's a poignant time to do so. So could these aircrafts be something that the government has made up at some point, and our test flight, doing some test flights and things to show them off, or to just work through the nature of what they are. And it's easy to call them UFOs because you would want foreign governments to think they are UFOs and not some military technology that we possess that they don't. Because the moment it gets out there, then every country starts reverse engineering and trying to come up with their own craft or something that mimics what we have come up with. So there's some interesting things with are they manned? Are they not manned? If they are extraterrestrial, if they're not, are these manned? Are they drones? Even if they're drones, are they from, our military? Are they from some extraterrestrial place? If you think about it, if you were going to, if we send out, we have a Mars rover, we've sent out rockets, we've sent out satellites that we have film of Jupiter and various other planets. If we have that technology and you think about us advancing at the rates that we do, if we get out into let's say 100 years from now, let alone 1,000 years from now, and our technology continues to grow and advance at the rate that it currently is, then would we be able to create these crafts that would be able to travel through time and space and identify other planets with life on them? And if they were, would we not want to study it? Would we not want to go visit it, check it out, even if it was drone operated, not man-made operated? It would be a great opportunity to put, a drone, an AI, artificial intelligence being inside a drone to fly and look at other planets that might possess life form. Certainly, if you can think, if you were a life form in another planet and you came and you discovered the Earth, then you would be looking at it and be probably very interested in what that could be. On top of that, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that it's not that, it's that this ancient civilization of extraterrestrial beings used to live on Earth and they've moved on and now they're coming back periodically to check on us. I've heard that story and that theory. I don't know where I line up in all this. I'm just relaying some of the facts. I personally think that these are most likely military drones that they are working on with advancements in technology that we didn't know exist. However, having said that, they do work opposite a lot of the things that we know about aircraft, and so it would be very hard for us to create that, which would lead one to believe that potentially it's extraterrestrial. They talk about reverse gravity. Some of these aircrafts possibly operating off of a reverse gravity field where the object itself creates a gravity bubble around it that allows it to defy some of the laws of physics that we have, and allows it to, turn on a dime and go these crazy speeds, and how they're propulsed, I don't really know, but a lot of that goes over my head. But it is interesting to think that, anti-gravity, we've talked about that. From 1985, when Back to the Future came out and they were riding hoverboards around. That's an anti-gravity board that doesn't exist, but that's the kind of technology that they are talking about in some of these crafts. That's the technology they use to be able to manipulate their movements and do the things that they do. So, fascinating story with that. Bob Lazar. Interesting guy. We talked about him. George Knapp was the reporter that came out with the story, and he ultimately spilled the beans that he was on site with Bob Lazar when they went out into the desert around Area 51 and were recording the test flights of these crafts that had been flying around and that Bob had been working on. So that led a little bit of credibility to that. So it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff out there about the aliens, and we'll go down. This is just kind of a surface level talk about some of the thoughts and the conspiracy theories around that. We could get into the deeper dive of the alien civilization that lives in Antarctica that was helping the Nazis with aircraft and fighter jets and military planes back in World War II, and how this all led to the alien race meeting with who was it? Eisenhower, and supposedly coming up with this treaty. I heard this story literally yesterday. That supposedly this alien existence had a role in the creation of and the advancement of technology in the Nazis' aircraft and yeah, airplanes and military planes, and that ultimately somehow that led into this is crazy, but it led into the Eisenhower Alien Treaty, which meant that they had a period of time where they could no longer help in these other areas, but Eisenhower gave them the okay to continue to do abductions, to do research on living humans, and ultimately put the label that it could only be done in national forests. And if it was only done in national forests, then they started linking that to the missing 411 cases all across the United States of these people who just randomly vanished and disappeared and throughout all of our national forests. And you think about those stories where you're walking down the road or you're walking down a path and you turn around, the person you were with is just no longer there. They're gone and you don't know why. So it's pretty ridiculous, some of the stories that I've heard, but I haven't done any investigation on it because we're going to probably do a deep dive into that storyline if there's anything there. But I do know that there's something there because I just read about it yesterday. This is a bit all over the board. It's just crazy to me because there's so many conspiracy theories and so many things that have come up, and I'm anxious to see really what this rabbit hole leads down to. So we've got that. We've talked about that. We've talked about UFOs. We've talked about conspiracy theories. I think on this channel, my favorite thing is going to be to talk about conspiracy theories that ultimately came true. We talked about things like Operation Northwoods, MK Ultra. We've got Operation Mockingbird, Operation Paperclip, the Iran-Contra affair, Watergate. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories that were later proven to be true, and I can't wait to get down that rabbit hole and talk about all those things. Good evening, Milky. How are you? Hope you're doing well. We have talked about some really random, bizarre UFO stuff. I want to know, if Jesus was a Marvel character, what character would he be and why? I'm going to be real careful on this one. I'm going to say, okay, let's see. Who would he be? A great question. Who would he be? Well, okay, we're talking about Jesus. I thought you were, I would have a different answer if you said God, but I will say Thor. Why? I don't have any idea because I don't know a lot about Marvel. You know, I'm a DC guy. I'm wearing a Batman hat. So I don't know. But we talked about a lot of craziness about UFOs and aliens and things, and kind of surface level dive into what we would what we're going to get into on this channel. We talked about some of the what am I trying to say here? Conspiracy theories that were proven to be true. Let's see what we got. He says okay. Poppin says okay. But guys, please feel free to ask me questions about any topics that you want to ask me about. That's what this live stream is about tonight. I do have an entire list of various subject matters that we're going to go through. There's 2 pages that we're going to be going through on this channel. And if you have any questions about any of it, I would love to speak about it freely and tell you some of my thoughts and what I really think. And you know, I think that there's a lot of craziness as it relates to all of this, the conspiracy theories, the UFO sightings, the lost treasures, all of that. But I am fascinated by studying all of it to see where the origin stories of these things come from. Because, you know, UFOs, people were known to be, or people were said to be and thought to be absolutely crazy if they brought up UFOs. I saw a UFO, I was abducted by a UFO, any of these number of things. And now we've come so far along that we're now actually a little bit more accepting of it, to the extent that the government has released video evidence of their own identifications of unidentified flying objects. And so that makes for interesting conversations, and whether or not these things were true in the first place. Because like I said, we're going to go into this whole rabbit hole of conspiracy theories that were proven to be true. And when we do, we're going to see that these are all topics that had you thought about them or talked about them prior to them coming out or the release of these classified documents, you would be labeled as crazy. And here we are, now knowing years later that these are right. What's up, Nick? How are you? We're good. Mitchie is out in Kansas City at a dance competition with Bailey. So I am flying solo and fairly crashing and burning at the moment. But all fun aside, yeah, we're just talking about this is kind of a free for all. I want to go down a rabbit hole. If you guys want to throw either conspiracy theories or questions about, UFOs or lost treasures or cryptids or anything else, please do so. That's what I would like, is for you guys to throw some things out there and just let me play off of those. And then I'll interact with you guys in the chat, talk and discuss what we want to talk about. The topics that I have on my list that will be coming up in upcoming, or will be in upcoming live streams: conspiracy theories, unsolved disappearances, lost treasures, cryptids, UFO sightings, cults, urban legends, cursed movie sets, missing 411, and conspiracy theories proven to be true. We're going to go through some of those. So conspiracy theories, we're going to bring up, you got the basic ones like flat Earth. You've got the JFK assassination, the Illuminati control world events, reptilian humanoid elite ruling the world, New World Order agenda, HARP weather control, all of that good stuff. Mothman, that is a fascinating story to me. The Mothman, appears and shows up, and then when he does, bad things happen. And there have been a number of reports, and I haven't done a ton of research on it yet, but there have been a number of reports. There's been some great books and movies and things out on the Mothman. And it's hard to discount the idea that these bad things happened after these sightings were reported. We know that the sightings were reported. Now, I'm sure that there were a lot of people that claim to have seen Mothman sightings after the first ones were reported. And after, so a handful of people report them, bad things happen. I'm sure, hindsight, people are going back and saying, oh, I saw the Mothman too. Oh, I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. But ultimately, what we do know is there were reported sightings, and then bad things happen. And not just once, but multiple times throughout time. And we have to identify, what is this Mothman? What does it represent? What is the nature of things happening within that space of the world that is creating these sightings to happen? And ultimately, whether there's any direct correlation between the sighting itself and the tragic event. So, yes, he only appears before a tragic event, and that's what I think is fascinating. Is that true? What we know is that, yes, it's true. There have been sightings and then tragic events. But have there been sightings with no tragic events? Obviously, there have been tragic events with no sightings. So we need to correlate those two to see if that is actually one with the other, and then just try to identify who or what we think the Mothman ultimately is. So, moon landing, real or fake? We did that live stream a few weeks ago. I can make a really good, compelling argument as to why the moon landing was fake. But honestly, if you're asking me personally, I don't think it was fake. I do 100% think we landed on the moon, and I think we'll be going back in a matter of time. So we'll see. Some other conspiracy theories. I know Mitchie really wants to get into the Princess Diana death, and then Elvis Presley faking his own death. The Titanic was sunk deliberately. I started to do a video on the Titanic being sunk deliberately, and it's just a little bit. I'm just not real sure yet what I want to do with that. Do you still collect pops? Yes. No. I guess I should say no. I'm very, very limited. Even the top grails that I've had in the past, some of my favorite ones I've sold off or attempted to sell off. I still have some that I'm selling off. I still enjoy the NFT space, and so occasionally I'll get into those, and I'll either keep the ones, like I got one recently that I love, and I'll probably keep that in the collection forever. But the rest of them, I will not. I'll usually sell when they're tokens and then make the money back off. I have a ton of them left. If anybody's interested, I'm still selling them on eBay, Mercari, anywhere I can list them. So there's a ton of unsolved disappearances that I'm excited to talk about too. I mean, you've got the disappearances like the guy. I can't think of what his name is. I might have written it down. I don't see it here, but the guy who went out for a day trip, took his skis. I think he was in Minnesota. Took his skis with him, his camping gear, whatever else. They ultimately found his tent, camping gear, skis, whatever, backpack. I think it was just skis and backpack at the edge of the lake near the Great Lakes. Footprints went out a decent ways and then just ended. And they assumed he fell through the lake, but he was never found until like 15 months later, a little over a year. He just re-popped up in the middle of a field in Ohio, I believe it was, and hitchhiked a ride to his aunt's house, and he has no recollection of what happened for that entire 15 months that he was. Those are the kind of stories I'm really fascinated about, because you could take that down any rabbit hole. Was he injured in some way? Was he, was there foul play involved? Was it aliens that abducted him? There's all kinds of conspiracies that go around that, when ultimately the answer might be he just faked his own disappearance and showed up 15 months later. There's evidence for all of it. So it'll be exciting to see what they do. I know you have already covered this, but what are your final thoughts on Bigfoot? I would say that the word final thoughts are going to be relative, because you might ask me today, and I know what my opinion of Bigfoot is, and you might ask me again tomorrow, and it may waver a little. And that's true with a lot of these things that we talk about on this channel, because I truly want to believe some of this. I want to believe that there are extraterrestrial beings visiting planet Earth. I want to believe that Bigfoot exists. I would love for the existence of a plesiosaur in the Loch Ness Monster to be true. But it's just tough when the evidence isn't there to support it. And so I'm kind of a guy that needs physical evidence to fully commit to something, to a belief system. I do think that there's a lot of evidence. I think there's a lot of eyewitness testimony to Bigfoot. I think there is very limited circumstantial evidence for Bigfoot. I think that I would have to lean towards doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. But I am open-minded and would love to have my mind changed, especially on that. I mean, Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster were my first two cryptids I ever even knew anything about. And I absolutely love it. I love the stories, love all the information, and would love for it to be real. So it's tough. It's really tough. I've been talking about Bigfoot since I was a little kid, and we don't have any more evidence today than we did that many years ago. So I'm just I'm on the fence. Yeah, I would have to see one to believe it. That's almost where I'm at. If you came back to me with some sort of genetics or some sort of DNA or some sort of captured, dead or alive, something that could be proven that it's not a guy in a suit out in the woods, then I would be much more inclined to buy into it. But I think I would only completely 100%. No, I can't even say that. I don't know that I would be 100% convinced of its existence if I saw one. And let me explain why that is. We had an experience, Mitchie and I went and did a overnight ghost hunting or ghost paranormal thing at the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas. And in that overnight stay, we had a number of things happen that were, by all means, terrifying and paranormal at its finest. At one point in time, I sat a Magic 8 Ball, the ones you shake up and it answers the questions. I set that at the top of the stairs. I came down to the bottom of the stairs and I said, and there's nobody else upstairs. Mitchie and I are both at the bottom. And I said, okay, Sally, if you're up there, roll this ball down the stairs. And before I could even get the words out of the mouth, that ball came rolling down the stairs and crashed against the wall. And we went running and screaming. At the time, that was 100% paranormal. At the time when the knocks and the sounds we heard and the feelings that we had, when all that was going on, that was 100% paranormal. You could not have convinced me any other way. Now that I've removed myself through time from that experience, you let nature and scientific evidence creep in and you think, okay, maybe there are logical. It's an old house, it's going to make noise. There's, there's this going on, that going on. There's any number of things that could lead you to explain why these events happen before they're just automatically labeled paranormal. And so even though that ball rolled down the stairs, I can say in my mind, did I set it too close to the edge? Was it just kind of teetering there and it eventually fell? Did I do this? I'm the one that placed it there. I know, but at the same time, you start questioning all these things. And so if that happened, I'm less likely now to believe that it was paranormal as I was back then. Back then, 100% paranormal. If I saw Bigfoot right now, 100% that's Bigfoot. If I get 6 months removed from it and nobody else has seen one and I've never seen one again, I'm going to start questioning, what did I really see? And I think that's why I think I would even have to hesitate in saying I'd have to see one to believe. But I do want to believe. Now, I do believe there's aliens out there somewhere without seeing them. 100% believe that aliens exist, in my opinion. I mean, the universe being infinite and there being an infinite number of galaxies across time and space and other other planetary systems, there's got to be one that has the potential to have life on it. I have no question in my mind that there are other living beings on other planets somewhere in space. Does that mean that they're in aircrafts or spacecrafts and they're traveling over here and visiting us? No, that's not what that means. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they're more advanced than us. Maybe they're less advanced than us. I think there's a lot, if they are advanced enough to visit, I think I was talking about this earlier, but if they were advanced enough to visit, would they be personally visiting us, or would they be sending some sort of AI technology that looks like a being, but really is more like a AI robot covered in gray skin with big eyes and a big head? Or are these just unmanned drones? Are they just drones with the equipment on there to be able to film and look, and not really have alien creatures or alien life? 100% believe there's life on other planets somewhere, some way, shape, or form. No question about it. I just don't know without any further evidence, for all the same reasons I've already said. Being relatively skeptical, I don't know that I would think that they're actively visiting us. Although there's becoming more and more scientific evidence that maybe they are. I do believe in ghosts. My grandmother's 97 years old, and she told me stories of seeing a Civil War soldier in the corner of her childhood home. I mean, I am not going to discount the millions of people who have had paranormal experiences. And again, like I said at that time, I have tons of stories from my childhood and throughout my life that I would label as paranormal experiences. I just get more and more, I just have a more and more difficult time. I mean, again, we've had major advancements in technology. We still can't see them. Our equipment can't see them to any better degree. And we can't hear them. They can't communicate with us regularly. There's no direct connection between the two worlds, the other realm and us. I just don't, it's just tough. As a skeptic, again, I just want to see a ghost standing in front of me and have a conversation with it. But that's not going to happen. So I have to either trust in the experiences that I have, or lean back onto the scientific side of it and say, okay, I'm going to need more evidence for it. That's kind of where I at. I mean, I remember a story from my childhood where, I had a favorite book and I couldn't find that book. I read it every single night before bed, or had it read to me and read it, whatever. And every night loved that book, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I was searching and searching and searching, and then I couldn't find it. So I was in my bedroom putting on my pajamas, and it was hot. I think we were in California. The windows were open. I don't know if we were in California. We were somewhere. The windows were open, and this book came flying in through the window and landed on the floor at my feet. I ran out into the living room because obviously I'm terrified that this just happened. And I come running into the living room, and my mom and my brother were both there in the living room. Would have been physically impossible for either of them to get around the house that fast back to the living room. So it was not either of them. And obviously, that could lead you to think that it was any number of things. I always thought it was a ghost. Maybe there was somebody actually in the room. I don't know, but I never did figure out what that was. And I don't know that to this day anybody believed me that that happened in my family, because I was just a little kid when I told it. Yeah, she never lied to you, and not going to start now, 100%. And I don't discount anybody paranormal experiences, because people do see things, people do have experiences. My well, people that I know that I was close to that have passed away had very interesting things towards the end of life that they talked about or spoke of or saw, that were, it's hard to dismiss as anything but paranormal. So I don't know. Again, it's just because it's weird because I'm skeptical about some things, and other things I'm just like, oh no, that's real, 100%. And I don't have any more evidence for that than anything else. But for whatever reason, I pick and choose what to be skeptical about. Doesn't make any sense. UFO sightings. We talked about the Roswell incident, obviously, but there's a ton of those. We have the Phoenix Lights. We have the Kecksburg UFO incident, Tehran UFO incident, McMinnville UFO photographs. There's just 50 of these here. Battle of Los Angeles, Lubbock Lights, Betty and Barney Hill abduction. There's tons of UFO sightings cases that we want to go over and talk about, and we'll be doing that. Cults, religious cults. We got Heaven's Gate, Jonestown, Branch Davidians, Manson family, Scientology. Well, I don't know about Scientology. We'll get into that because that goes back into the alien order things. So we'll talk about that. Solar Temple, Family International, all kinds of different cults throughout history and time. We're going to talk about more. We're going to talk about more cryptids like Loch Ness, Chupacabra, Mothman's on here, Jersey Devil, Thunderbird, Ogopogo, Kraken. Can't wait to unleash the Kraken. Dover Demon, Beast of Bray Road, Flatwoods Monster, the Yowie, Loveland Frogman. A lot of these are Bigfoot variations, but we're going to get into a deep dive of a lot of that stuff. Lost treasures. There's a ton of lost treasures to cover. And we'll be going through all of those. All right, so here we got another question. Let's see. Great question for you, Jeremy. Angels, real or not? Well, I think what that's going to do is lead us down a religious path that I'm not necessarily prepared to go down yet. My thoughts on angels, demons, and God and that kind of thing, I think I'm going to avoid for the moment, because my opinions vary greatly from time to time. So I think that, and I think that's what my issue with ghosts is too, is because of the relation between the two. If you believe in one, you have to believe in the other. And I'm just, again, skepticism keeps me at arm's length from anything that I can't physically test and experience. So I don't really know where I stand on that quite yet. I've been very religious at times in my life, and I've been very not religious at times in my life. And so I have run the spectrum of being a 100% believer to claiming to be atheist to then more of an agnostic and maybe a spiritual searcher at this point in time. So I don't really know where my head lies in all that. I guess I told you more than I was thinking I was going to tell you, but that's kind of why I don't know if I want to go down the road of angels real or not. It's a great question, and I think Mitchie would have a lot to say about that too. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against or anything negative to say about it. It's in fact, it's one of the hard things I'm going to have to do with talking about cults because just the religious aspect of it. I don't want to accidentally put down anybody's active religion or their active beliefs or anything else. And so it's just kind of a touchy subject to even go in on. But I think everybody would agree that like the Manson family was not good. That the Branch Davidians, well, I don't know about Branch Davidians, the People's Temple, and ultimately ending the lives of so many people was probably a horrifyingly bad thing. So there's the group in Tokyo that did the sarin gas in the subway. I mean, there's plenty to talk about that's bad. But you go into some of the other ones, and it's interesting. Okay, let's see. What about the lost civilization of Atlantis? We're going deep dive on the lost city of Atlantis, and that's going to tie into so much more because we're going to have a fun conversation about the lost city of Atlantis and its relation to the earliest days of the Earth and the most technologically advanced stages of the Earth, how that led into ancient Egypt and the pyramids and the Sphinx and all the different things. And I can't wait to get into that and have that conversation. There's so much really great and fascinating and absolutely crazy stuff about the lost city of Atlantis that I can't wait to get it. Would you rather have a conversation with your past self? Good evening, Brandon, by the way. Would you rather have a conversation with your past self or a conversation with your future self? So Nick says future self, get those lottery numbers, right? I hear that. I'm going to say, I think you could do the same thing. So either way. So I think past. I think I would go have a conversation with the past Jeremy. For a lot of reasons, just to prevent some things that I've done that I'm not proud of from ever happening in my lifetime. Just understanding the consequences of actions when you're younger and not knowing what you're going to lead yourself into, what path you're going to put yourself on. So to be able to clean up some of that stuff, and then also I'd go back and tell myself to buy Bitcoin when it was 50 cents or whatever. So I'd go back and invest a lot of money in things that I know now are going to be good. Cursed movie sets. Brandon, you were here for that. We did that, but I have a great list of, The Crow, The Twilight Zone, Passion of the Christ, The Wizard of Oz, Apocalypse Now, Rebel Without a Cause, Nosferatu, Twilight, The Dark Knight, Superman, the original, The Patriot, Cleopatra, and The Lone Ranger. I mean, there's so many great supposed cursed movie sets that I can't wait to get into those. Yeah, either way, it's helpful. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would choose past self, but and buy stock in Google and Apple, right? Imagine, okay, so think about this. This is what's crazy to me. This is what keeps me on the hook for all the things like UFOs and ancient civilizations that were more powerful than we are today, things like that. Consider the advancements that we've had in technology just in your own lifetime. So for me, that's no cell phones, no internet, no really no computers. Television had 4 channels. We weren't able to FaceTime each other from around the world in seconds and have crisp, clear video like we do today. We go from all of what we had when we were young to these amazing things that we have now where we can literally pick up a phone and talk to somebody who is halfway across the world and have a conversation with them face to face through our phone. We have high speed internet. We have the answers to every test question. We have computers that solve insanely difficult math equations within split seconds, within fractions of seconds, and can do all these computations. You think about the advancements that we've had in technology. We have self-driving cars. We have, you name it. You name the list. Everything that fits in the palm of our hand. Next up, we have the virtual reality and the idea that AI, the advancements in AI that we've had, all this craziness. I project that double time. So from 40 to 80, 40 more years from today, 80 years from today, 100 years from today, 1,000 years from today, 10,000, 100,000, million years from today. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just read that I missed Hot Tub Time Machine. I'll put that on the list. Imagine the advancements in technology from just when we were kids to now and what that advancement's going to look like. We don't have any idea of what we are going to be capable of in 10 years. Well, maybe in 10 years, but not in 100 years, let alone 1,000 years. So, everything that we know, we have to apply to what we know as it is right now. So the laws of physics, the laws of gravity, the laws of everything that we know, propulsion systems, everything that we know are based on the science that we have now. When you move from what we have now to 100 years from now, I mean, do we even know what we're going to be doing? Will we be the ones living underground in the Arctic? Will we be the ones creating underground civilizations that the ones on top will be talking about exist and nobody believes them? I mean, where are we going to be in that 100 years, 1,000 years, based on our own advancements in technology? Will we even live on this planet? Will we have to find a planet that provides the source material for the things that we need for that new technology? Or will we be out there hunting for it and bringing it back to Earth? It's just going to be, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be alive to see it. I'm just trying to wrap your brain around the advancements that we're going to see over the rest of our lifetimes, let alone our kids' lifetimes and their kids and their kids. It's just insane to me. So if there is life on another planet, let's say it's been around for 1,000 years more than we have. And that puts them 1,000 years more advanced than we are. Anything's possible. At that point, anything becomes possible. And my elementary math teacher told me that I wouldn't be able to carry a calculator with me everywhere. Joke's on him. I did a paper in college about how one day nothing would have a wire that connects it. Like we'll just be able to talk on a phone. We'll be able to print. We'll be able to use our computers with no cords plugging it in. We'll have we'll be able to print on a printer with no connectors between the computer and the printer, and we'll have all this wireless technology. And there was reason to believe that. I didn't make it up. I wasn't brilliant. I just knew that technology was kind of doing some things to advance in that direction. And the teacher totally, I mean, it gave me an okay grade, but he said it was an absolute joke, that it would never happen. It's not possible. That is absolutely not possible. And here we are. Everything's Bluetooth, right? If there is an alien race that's viewing us that is 1 million years advanced from us, we will be the ant farm to them. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, that's exactly right. And there's the conspiracy theories that these alien life forms existed and they came down and they modified the genetic code to create humans and yada yada yada, and that's how we got here. And that's so whether it's evolution or God or whatever it is, there's this other theory that alien race came down and genetically modified our DNA and created. Again, just because I say it doesn't mean I believe it. I'm just saying that these are the conspiracies that are out there. It's insane, just the difference from 20 years. Exactly. you deserve a PhD for that paper. Well, I don't know about that, but like I said, I mean, computers existed at that point, and we were able to use dial-up, and so we'd get the screeching nonsense. And I think we were in the early days of fax machines and things, and so there were certainly indications that there were that companies were trying to make this technology that was going to be wireless, and which led me to think that. I mean, I wasn't one that ground broke. I just read what I read and regurgitated it, and my teacher thought I was an idiot. That's absolutely impossible. It would never happen. But yeah, I mean, you talk about the again, we're going to make an assumption here that the moon landing was real. I believe it was. The computer technology on the original space shuttle that landed on the moon was less sophisticated than what we carry in our hands every day with the iPhone. And I mean, it's the things that the iPhone can do, or the Samsung Galaxy, or whatever. The handheld smartphone technology is more than what we had available at that time. And we landed a freaking spaceship on the moon. Like, imagine what we could do now, and what they're doing with, whether it's SpaceX or NASA or anyone else. We have multiple agencies now that are sending civilians to space, albeit for a short minute, but they go up to space and they come back. Those advancements are happening so rapidly that 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, it's just going to be absolutely absurd what we're going to be able to do. Is there any way we can change you from a Missouri fan to a Georgia Bulldogs fan? Probably. Probably. I don't have any connections to MU. My brother went to MU, and my company that I work for is in Jeff City, and I spend a lot of time in Columbia, so minds can be changed. I went to Indiana, so I enjoyed. I was in Indiana University. I just wear the Mizzou stuff because it's local and in Missouri. So yeah, sure, Georgia Bulldogs fan, absolutely. There's a few teams that I would say absolutely not, and Alabama would have. So we don't talk about this house. So Georgia Bulldogs, sure. All right, let's see. What other thoughts we got? What other questions you guys got? I'm really excited to talk about MK Ultra and the rabbit hole that leads into, because that led from, I mean, there's MK Ultra. I don't know if any of these are going to be on here, but they're not, because they're all just intertwined. But you have MK Ultra, Project Bluebird, what it was called. Oh crap, I can't remember them. I was just talking about them earlier today, but there's a number of the projects where it was about human LSD and mushrooms, basically testing those on humans as a form of either making an advanced warrior fighter in the military, or possibly mind control, or any number of other things. And that testing split off in multiple directions, where under MK Ultra they were testing subjects willingly, where they knew about it, what was going on, and then it went all the way down to other operations where they were testing unwilling participants in hotel rooms and observing them from the other room and things like that. So I can't wait to get into the conspiracy theories like that, because that's terrifying to me, that you think that your own government wouldn't do that against its own people, but we have proof and unclassified documentation to prove that these things went on, that these actually happened. So I'm really excited to talk about that. We don't talk about Alabama in my house either. That's good. I was a Miami Dolphins fan for a little while, most of my life, and Nick Saban, when he went there and bailed on him, and then went to, anyway, I don't want to talk. Not a fan. One of the things on here, urban legends, and I don't even know how to approach this. So you guys tell me if you think there's anything here, but there's a ton of urban legends. And I really want to get into the origin stories of where did these things come from? I mean, where did we even get the story of Bloody Mary or Slender Man or the Hook, Vanishing Hitchhiker, Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, the clown statue, the licked hand? There's so many urban legends, and most of them have some sort of backstory, origin story that we can discuss and talk about. But I don't know how much information is there, whether or not it can spread the course of an hour, if it'd even be worth covering on a podcast. But if it is, we're going to do it. I'm going to try to get us maybe take a chunk of them and then talk about the origin stories on all of those. Have you ever seen the video of the Tic Tac UFO? Absolutely. In fact, I think I was talking about early on before anybody got here. You go back, you'll be able to see like the first half of the video or of this live stream was about David Fravor and David Grush and Ryan Graves, and I talked a little bit about Bob Lazar again and George Knapp, who George Knapp was the investigative reporter out of Las Vegas that spilled the beans on everything that Bob Lazar was involved with. But David Fravor is the one that was known for that Tic Tac video. Absolutely fantastic story. His story is great. He's not actually the one that filmed the Tic Tac video, but he eyewitnessed it and has all the story to go with it, where that Tic Tac went from. Well, first of all, he talks about the Whitecaps. I thought that was fascinating, where he saw a disturbance in the water, where the water was relatively clear on a clear day. There was a disturbance on the surface of the water. So he didn't see anything underneath it, but in order for there to be that kind of disturbance, there would have had to have been something under it that was making that disturbance on the surface of the water. And then all of a sudden you have the Tic Tac, and they eyewitnessed it drop from 80,000 feet down to 50,000 feet above sea level within a split second, within a second or less, and then it just traveled along the shore, or traveled along the ocean, and then ultimately sped off at a high rate of speed and disappeared. And what's interesting is that after they witnessed this, he and his wingman, the other plane in the sky, they turned back, doubled back to go back to base, land their aircrafts, and as they turned and went to go back after they had lost this thing, they were radioed in that this Tic Tac was now being redetected at, I think it was called their Cat Point, which is where they were initially set up to. So their Cat Point is where before a military drill or before training, they'll set a Cat Point, and when you take off from the aircraft carrier, from the base or wherever you're taking off from, you'll go to that Cat Point, and then you'll wait for further instruction, and you'll carry out your routine, and then you go back. Well, that UFO went back to their Cat Point, which means that they somehow knew where this thing was, where this Tic Tac knew where these crafts were supposed to be, which is just bizarre how they infiltrated that technology somehow, where they got the signals or whatever they did, that they got those coordinates that's where they were. And then they got to the ground, they talked about it, they sent more planes up, and then that's where the actual footage of that Tic Tac being captured and flying was. And it's a fantastic story. I would love to interview any of those guys. I would love to talk to them about it and let them share their experience, but I certainly am going to tell their story, because between that video and what they eyewitnessed to and what they've stayed strong on, their testimony hasn't changed. Their stories haven't changed. What they saw is captured, and it's fascinating. Ryan Graves, combat pilot and instructor as well. He's the one that saw they have the video of the aircraft that is flying at a crazy speed, and then it rotates and continues to travel at that speed, defying all the laws of physics that we know. It's fascinating to me, all those stories. Yeah, we could talk for days on the Tic Tac incident. Absolutely, 100%. And I could talk for days on David Grush. David Grush was the former intel officer for the United States government and for the military. And he's the one that testified before Congress with David Fravor and one other guy. and he talks about the things that he knows. He was the whistleblower from the Intel op about what we have recovered in alien technology, what we've recovered in spacecraft, and even hinted that we have recovered non-humanoid sentience or something. I don't remember if he said sentient. I can't remember what terminology he used, but I mean, again, I'm making an argument that I don't know if we have actual aliens, living beings, or if these are some sort of artificial intelligence beings that are being planted in aircraft traveling for these great distances. If any of it's even, I don't know. Favorite comic book character. Favorite comic book character. I'm going to say Superman. I've got a crazy love for the DC. I don't know why, but I grew up on DC. I love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all the DC players, the Flash, and um, and despite always wearing the Batman hat, and any of you know me from the videos before we started this channel, the Batman hat has been a part of my repertoire forever. And but really, he's my second favorite superhero behind. I just don't have a Superman hat. I used to. I don't know where it is. I'm even drinking out of a Wonder Woman tumbler right now. So that's probably my favorite comic character. Okay. Well, I mean, I've been rambling on for over an hour now, hour and 10 minutes. It'll be funny for you guys to go back and if you want to go back and watch the first 20 minutes because there wasn't anybody here and I just rambled on like an idiot for a while about stuff I just didn't know what even to talk about. So I appreciate all the questions and kind of dragging me along in this so that I can figure out what I want to say. But I just do want to explain that this is going to be a fun dive into all these crazy things that we're going to be talking about. And if any of you guys ever want to come on the channel as a guest or to talk about any certain topics, please feel free to reach out to me anytime, whether it's Instagram, at yet another average podcast at gmail.com. Any way you want to, just reach out and let's get together and collaborate on something because I think it would be a lot of fun to get other people's opinions on this stuff, even if they think it's absolutely crazy. I'm good with that because that's what people think. Some people think it's fascinating. Some people think everybody's crazy. Some people think it's real. Some people think it's all just bogus and fake. I'm of the belief system that it's hard to believe anything because there are so many people that fake things and act like it's true that you don't then anymore know what to believe as true. And so all the UFO reporting, all the Bigfoot sightings, all the Loch Ness Monster sightings, all of the things over time lead us to become incredibly skeptical about all these things that we hear. And so it's really just, fascinating to get everybody's viewpoints on them. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Love these chats, my friend. Have a great night. God bless. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love it when you're here. Always fun chatting and talking. I've been sub since the beginning. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you. Mr. Holly English, welcome in. Welcome in. Are you going to talk about the Titanic not being sunk one day? I am. In fact, I was talking earlier about how I'm actually working on a video now that I'll turn into a podcast for the future that talks about all those things. Was it sunk deliberately? Was it not sunk at all? Was it done for the insurance money? There's all the different conspiracies that go along with it. I can't wait to talk about the Titanic and it not be about Jack and Rose. So, yes, we're definitely going to go down the rabbit hole of the RMS Titanic or the Olympus or whatever it was that hit that iceberg or didn't hit it. We're going to definitely have a long video on that. Or a live stream. We'll talk about it in a live stream because there's so much to get into on that. The JP Morgan story that goes along with it, things like that. So, yes, I have a ton of research to do. That's why I haven't put out any kind of video because there's so much more. As I dug in, I just got deeper and deeper and deeper. So, that's all coming soon once I have a firm grasp of that. Also, keep track of the community tab on YouTube and vote on the things that you want to see coming up. Pretty soon we're going to have, or next week we're going to be talking about the Curse of Oak Island. It'll be part 2 of the Knights Templar conversation that we had last week. We just didn't want to get into it without Mitchie here. So next week is Curse of Oak Island. After that, I believe we have the voting came in on, I want to say UFOs, and we'll have a lot of discussion about that. If it's not that, it was conspiracy theories, I think. Maybe it was conspiracy theories that we voted on. Real quick question: does Jeremy play video games? Yes, I do. I do enjoy video games very much, and my primary one at the moment, I love all the OG games, I grew up on Atari and Super Nintendo and all that stuff, but right now I play Fortnite. I play a lot of Fortnite. I love Call of Duty. I'm not great at Warzone, and I like Apex, but I got good at it, and then everybody just got way better, and I'm not at it. I can hold my own in Fortnite, and yeah, I'm on there. If you play video games, let me know. Hit me up. Always looking for people to play with. All right, guys. Well, that is what we've got for tonight. And again, I thank each and every one of you for being here. You know, your time's valuable. Anybody, God of War, I've not tried yet. I will try it. I'll look it up. Appreciate your time. I know the time is valuable, and you chose to spend your time with me tonight. So thank you for doing that. Really a lot of fun, and I really like these conversations. So it'll be really exciting to move forward and see what else we can come up with. But stay tuned. A lot of great things coming. We've kind of covered all of those topics tonight and what's going to be coming up on the channel. And if there's anything that I haven't talked about, or anything just randomly you want us to address or to talk about, we'll do the research on it. We'll bring it to the table and have fun. So, Mr. Holly-Ingos, have a wonderful evening. And Nick, have a wonderful evening. Brandon, if you're still here, have a wonderful evening. I believe I saw Charles and Ryan in here earlier. If you're still here, have a wonderful evening. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And can't wait to see you guys in the next live stream. So we'll yap about it later.